Hey guys, just going to do my setup video on the Millennium frame by Needle Needs. Done several of these videos and had to re-record them. I'm going to apologize in advance. It is the beginning of fall in Georgia, which is the beginning of my allergy season. So if I clear my throat or sniffle, I apologize. I'll try my best not to though. But here is the setup for the Millennium frame by Needle Needs. My husband ordered this on September the 21st and it arrived October the 21st. I'm going to try to do this video on how to set up the frame only and not give any of my opinions on it. I have stitched on it for one night. I can't say that I've done enough stitching to do a true review and tell you any pros or cons of the frame yet. But I will just show you how to set it up. A couple of you guys asked to see how to set up the frame. This is the business card that comes with the frame. You're not gonna be able to see it on the camera, I don't believe. But it's also the straight edge they send to use to put your fabric down into the grooves. I'm sure you could use any straight edge, but they do send this one. It's kind of also a little advertisement because it advertises the other sizes of frames that they have. I've got the 20-inch by 10-inch stretchers. I think that's just the standard one that's on the website. Okay, so I guess I'll show you the parts of the frame first. It comes with, of course, the card and these two scroll bars. In each scroll bar is a dowel, and that's what holds your fabric into the scroll bar. You can see that one end is kind of pointed and the other end is flat. The purpose of that is you use pointed end first to go into your frame, like so, and that holds your fabric down. On either side of the frame are these two holes on both sides, and that's where the stretcher bars go into the frame itself. I'll try to get this on frame, I don't know if I can. On the end where the dowel slides in, the bottom part is larger than the top part, and that's what keeps the dowel, so I can show you, from coming through the top. I hope that's on frame. Where the stretcher bars are, there is the handle. And inside the handle is the threaded piece of wood and the bolt. And the bolt is what gives you the tension, to stretch the fabric out. You'll notice that there's also this groove here on the threaded piece of wood. And that's because there is a peg inside of here that you're not going to be able to see on camera. But there's a peg in here, as you can see, the little circle. It's very smooth. You can't even feel that piece of wood there. And that peg keeps this from separating. They tell you on the instructions not to try to extend your stretcher bar past the stated length, because if you do, it can crack that piece of, it will crack that piece of wood, and that will crack your frame. It'll break your frame. The other night I was tightening mine up, and I'll show you later, but the fabric popped out of the dowel and it made this really loud noise, and I thought that I had broken the frame. It scared me to death. I was like, oh no, I already broken my frame. I haven't even stitched on it yet. So I guess I'll just go ahead and start and show you how to set up the fabric. I'll go ahead and pull out my dowels. The frame is about a medium weight. It's not something that I think would be easy to take with you to stitch. Like, obviously if you're going to a friend's house just to stitch, you could, but like not to like the doctor's office or to lunch or something like that, or at least not this size of the frame, because it's just too cumbersome for that. But see, I'm trying to, but I mean, it's not a hugely heavy frame. One of my issues that I'm having right now is that because I am or have been a hoop and Q-snap person, I usually try to minimize my extra fabric. And by doing that, on the scroll frame, you need to have the extra fabric to allow for the rolling of the fabric. So mine's kind of cutting it close. from now on, when I make a project or do a project that I plan to use this frame for, I'll give extra fabric on the length to where I have plenty of room to roll. Okay, so you're supposed to leave about 1.5 to 2 inches of fabric sticking out whenever you tuck this in, and you want to get it as straight as possible when you first put it on your frame. And you just use the straight edge to tuck your fabric down into the groove. And that's where my issue was, is I didn't leave enough fabric on the end, and when I pulled it tight, the fabric popped out from underneath the dowel, and the dowel is what made the pop sound, was it hitting against the backside of the wood. It scared me to death. I did have issues at first with threading the dowel in. You want to make sure that you put your dowel on top of the fabric inside of the groove, because if you don't, it's not going to hold on the fabric. Kind of an obvious statement until you try to get it on there and you think you're over the fabric and you're not. So just kind of lift up, make sure you're on top of your fabric. If you get this in here and you realize that there's not enough here, or that you're on top of your stitches, or that it's not straight, you can use your straight edge to tap the dowel, and you pull the fabric either that way, or you can pull it back this way. Either way, just to straighten it out and get it perfect. That bar's already set up. Now I slide in to do my second bar. And again, the same thing. And this is where you're going to kind of see that I'm running into the edges of the stitching. But you want to lay it across as straight as you can. Again, this is not like a perfection thing. The straighter you get it, the easier it's going to be for you. It's not going to mess up your stitching if it's not perfectly straight, from what I've seen. And then tuck in your, that's going to be too close. Tuck in your fabric. And you can see that this will be the end of this project. So I won't be able to stitch the very bottom of this project on this frame. If I had extra fabric, I would be able to, but that's because of me, not because of the frame. That's just me using minimal excess fabric from, you know, using a hoop and a Q-snap before. Again, go over the fabric with your dowel and push it through. Make sure it's on top. Position it how you want. And you're ready now to roll up your fabric. You can roll this way and roll your stitches to where it's the back side exposed, which is how I did mine. Or you can roll it where your stitches are exposed. To me, the whole purpose of a scroll frame is to protect your work, so I want my stitches to be to the inside. I'm not going to roll this way as much because I want to be able to stitch on this bottom part. So I'll pull it kind of tight to where that bottom part really exposed. And now I'm going to roll this end in to meet that end. And the instructions say that you want for your bars to be just far enough for these to go in. Something else I ran into the other day is that I don't even know how I managed to do it or what gave me the idea, but I put these in first. And then sort of flipped this onto here with my fabric, which I'm not going to be able to do it now. I don't have it in the same spot. But when I did, it was an awesome, like, it was easy to tighten up because there wasn't that much room to tighten, you know, the stretcher bars to tighten the fabric. But my issue was, is when I went to take it off, I was like, I can't pull this top bar off of this stretcher bar to get my fabric off. A few moments of panic, and then I, you know, realized the obvious, just tap down the dowel, take it out, and pull the fabric out, and you're good to go. But there was a moment of panic there. But you don't really want it that tight, because I mean, it's hard to get on there, and then it is hard to get your fabric back off. You do kind of want it to where you have to put it on there, like so. And but you don't want it to be like the fabric all the way out, because then your stretcher bars aren't going to be long enough to get the tension that I want. I mean, it may be fine for you, but if you want the tight tension, you want this as close as you can when you put the top rod on. And now you're going to roll your the bolt out, and they move the same way. They don't move, it's not the righty tighty lefty loosey. It's always, you know, clockwise. You'll notice as you twist that they spread out like they're supposed to. For whatever reason, I tend to do one side faster than the other, so I kind of have to catch up. I'm sure I'll get faster at this the more I do it, but you'll notice that it starts to get a little harder as your fabric gets tighter. But once you get this tension that you want, see, it's starting to get a lot harder to twist. And my fabric isn't perfectly straight, so one side's a little tighter than the other. That's about it as far as the tension goes. And see, that's the size of the frame now. And it's decently light. I mean, I'm really shocked at how light it is considering how large the frame is. I don't know what kind of wood this is. But I mean, it's really, I mean, to look at it, it looks really heavy. It's lighter than it looks, but it's heavier, obviously, than like a Q-snap or a hoop. But there it is all set up. You can see that you get really good tension on the edges. I mean, and you can get tighter than this if you know, wrench it down. You can get, I mean, I can't bend that. I gotta really try to bend the fabric. The middle is not as tight as the edges, which is the opposite of a lot of scroll frames. I think, now that's just my theory, that if I had more fabric to roll, that I'd be able to get the middle tighter, but I don't have more fabric to roll up, so the middle's not as tight. I'm thinking that if I could do a complete turn on the fabric, see, because I've still got wood exposed here, that if I could turn it all the way around the fabric, that the middle would be even tighter than it is now. But even here, I mean, it's still as tight as any, I mean, it's pretty drum tight. As tight as any Q-snapper hoop I've ever seen. So I'm really impressed with the tension. That was always my issue with scroll frames, was the tension. But there it is. I stitched with it some last night. Got my tree limb done on my woodland sampling. But that's the setup. Easy enough to set it up. Once you do, you know, remember to make sure your dowel's on top and make sure that kind of thing. But that's setting it up. Now I'll show you how to take it apart. You just twist your bolts the opposite way instead of clockwise, counterclockwise. And once you get it loosened, it's a lot easier to go not tight, obviously, because you can go all the way up to the top. And then push your fabric in. And then you're going to use your straight edge, push the dowel back down in there. You do have to use a pretty good little bit of pressure there to push that dowel back in. Slide your dowel out, and then you remove your fabric. I'm not going to do that because I have this where I want it to be. Oops. Guess I will. You pull out your dowel, and then you have your fabric ready to remove off of the piece. They do have bar holders that hold these bars together. You store your dowels obviously inside the groove when you're not using it, and then you would put the grooves facing each other. And there's these little wooden pieces that clamp on to your ends, and they hold the bars together. They also say that what you can do is you can wrap, I guess, your fabric around one piece, and that's a way to store it. I'm probably going to just leave this piece on the scroll frame the whole time I'm doing it. I do have my rotation though, so I won't Now, I'll be changing it out pretty often anyway. They do say that if you're going to leave your fabric on your frame to loosen the tension, don't leave it really, really tight, because you can distort your fabric just like on a hoop, but you won't have the hoop marks. The tension's great, the setup's easy, the disassembly's easy. I'm overall so far pretty impressed with the frame. It does everything so far that it says it's going to do. Now, as far as my preference of the frame, I haven't stitched enough yet to tell you if I'm going to like it better than my Q snaps or better than my hoops. But for right now, that's everything. If you have any questions, of course, leave them in comments. In the comments, I will, once I've stitched on it a little while, I'll tell you if I like it as much as I like the other frames. And always, please feel free to subscribe or leave any questions or comments on the comment section. Thanks for watching.